Chapter 22-22. Lu Ming felt that his physical body was much stronger than before. With a slight movement, his muscles vibrated and a dragon's roar sounded. Lu Ming's blood seemed to have countless tiny 9 dragons jumping around. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. This was a good thing. The stronger his physical body, the stronger his combat power, and the more vigorous his life force. Following that, Lu Ming's soul power sank into his sea of consciousness and observed the divine 9-dragon cauldron. The divine 9-dragon cauldron entered his sea of consciousness and floated there. The 9 cauldrons were dim and the patterns on them were dead silent, as if they had lost their spirituality. Lu Ming appeared in his sea of consciousness and observed carefully. In the end, he tried to activate the divine 9-dragon cauldron, but there was no reaction at all. The divine 9-dragon cauldron seemed to have lost its spirituality. It seems that the battle this time has greatly damaged the divine 9-dragon cauldron. It has no energy left and can't be awakened or controlled, Lu Ming speculated. At the same time, he felt that it was a pity. If he could control the divine 9-dragon cauldron, he would become a top expert in the heaven realm. Unfortunately, no matter how hard Lu Ming tried, he could not awaken the divine 9-dragon cauldron. There was no movement at all. Thinking about it, the divine 9-dragon cauldron had gone through 2 battles in a row. Back when Lu Ming came, the divine 9-dragon cauldron had brought the 9 dragon veins and fought with the 4 peerless experts of the evil god tribe at their peak. In the end, the 4 ancestors of the evil god tribe were seriously injured. It was definitely due to the divine 9-dragon cauldron. As for the divine 9-dragon cauldron itself, it was blasted into the ground and almost lost its spirituality. It was Lu Ming who activated it with the blood essence of the 9 dragons and revived it. However, after the battle, the 9 dragons appeared, but the 9 dragons self-destructed in the end. The damage to the divine 9-dragon cauldron was extremely serious. It was not difficult to understand why it ended up like this. Can I take it out? Lu Ming thought. After many attempts, he was finally able to summon the divine 9-dragon cauldron from his sea of consciousness. However, he could not unleash its power. It was like a useless cauldron. Forget it. Lu Ming shook his head. He planned to study the divine 9-dragon cauldron when he had the chance in the future. That's right, there was another drop of blood that flew into my body. Just what kind of creature's blood was that? Where was it? Lu Ming thought of that mysterious drop of blood. Lu Ming was a little worried when a mysterious drop of blood flew into his body. He carefully searched his entire body. However, there was no trace of that drop of blood on his body. No, there's something wrong with his heart. In the end, Lu Ming discovered an abnormality in his heart. His soul power sank into his heart, and he found a drop of blood. This drop of blood was sparkling and translucent. There was actually a tiny true dragon swimming within it. Is this the blood of a true dragon? Could it be that true dragon? Lu Ming thought of the true dragon that fought against the evil god tribe in the ancient battlefield. Lu Ming wondered if that true dragon was injured and a drop of blood flew out and entered his body. Lu Ming's soul power approached this drop of blood and tried to control it. Roar. Suddenly, a dragon roar came from the drop of blood. This dragon roar was filled with boundless might and also had a feeling of great desolate antiquity. It was as if it came from an existence that had passed through time countless years ago, bringing with it a thick aura of time. Roar. The dragon roar rang out endlessly. That drop of blood actually moved, turning into a true dragon that reared its head and roared. Its eyes were like 2 suns. Lu Ming was shocked because he discovered that the true dragon that this drop of blood turned into was exactly the same as the true dragon that fought against the evil god tribe. At this moment, this true dragon's gaze was not looking at Lu Ming's soul power but in another direction, in the direction of Lu Ming's spine, which was also the direction of his 3rd bloodline. Kill. At this moment, the 3rd bloodline seemed to have some kind of resonance. A deafening roar came from the 3rd bloodline. This roar was filled with boundless killing intent, almost shattering Lu Ming's soul. Kill. Kill. Roars filled with killing intent rang out. That drop of blood from the 3rd bloodline seemed to have turned into a sea of blood. Waves of blood surged and endless killing intent surged. What's going on? At this moment, Lu Ming discovered that things had exceeded his expectations. He could not control the third bloodline at all, nor could he control that drop of true dragon's blood. Kill. In the sea of blood, the battle cries grew louder and louder. The boundless blood turned into a human face. Then, it turned into a beast face and kept changing. At this moment, the boundless power in the sea of blood seemed to want to rush out and destroy Lu Ming's soul, causing Lu Ming to sink into endless killing intent and turn into a killing puppet. No. Lu Ming roared. His soul shone as he guarded his heart. However, the power emitted by the sea of blood grew stronger and stronger, and the killing intent surged. Roar. At this moment, that drop of true dragon's blood turned into a true dragon and roared at the sky. It emitted an ancient dragon might as if it was fighting against the third bloodline. What's going on? Why is the bloodline suddenly going out of control? Could it be related to this drop of true dragon's blood? But why would the true dragon's blood cause the third bloodline to mutate? It seems that this true dragon's blood and the third bloodline are enemies. Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He guarded his heart and did not let the boundless killing intent in the third bloodline destroy him. Otherwise, he would really be reduced to a killing puppet forever. However, the power that emerged from the third bloodline was too strong, completely surpassing him. At this moment, outside, Dandan was curiously sizing up Lu Ming. He could not hear everything that was happening in Lu Ming's body, including that shocking dragon roar and terrifying battle cries. It seemed that only Lu Ming could hear it. The only abnormality was that Lu Ming's body was trembling constantly. His body was covered in a bloody light and his face was somewhat ferocious. What's wrong with this kid? Even a drop of ancestral dragon's blood shouldn't be like this, right? Dandan muttered to himself and walked around Lu Ming. He wanted to help Lu Ming but did not know how to do so. At this moment, Lu Ming's body had entered a critical stage. Lu Ming's soul power was shrouded in a layer of bloody aura. Boundless killing intent was constantly attacking Lu Ming's soul. Kill, kill, kill. Lu Ming's killing intent was getting stronger and stronger. It was as if he would only stop after slaughtering all living things in the world. Buzz. At this moment, there was another fluctuation coming from Lu Ming's spine. The prison-suppressing steely bloodline automatically emerged and became 10,000 feet tall, emitting endless light. Of course, all of this was Lu Ming's perception. The people outside could not see it. The words on the prison-suppressing steely's bloodline shone even brighter. Finally, 3 words appeared on the prison-suppressing steely and suppressed the third bloodline. Kill. The third bloodline surged with bloody waves and attacked the 3 words. Chapter 22-23. There were already 2 pieces of the suppressing hell steely. They emitted boundless light and contained boundless suppressive power as they pressed down on the sea of blood. In the sea of blood, the giant face kept changing into the faces of all kinds of living beings. At the same time, it kept roaring as if it was unwilling to give up. Roar. The true dragon formed by the drop of blood roared. It seemed to cooperate with the suppressing hell steely bloodline to suppress the third bloodline. Gradually, the waves of blood in the third bloodline became smaller and the killing intent faded. Finally, it turned back into a drop of blood and hid in Lu Ming's spine. Then, the suppressing hell steely bloodline's light disappeared and flew into Lu Ming's spine and disappeared. At this time, Lu Ming's body stopped trembling and the blood aura in his body disappeared. Roar. The true dragon formed by the drop of blood let out a loud roar and turned back into a drop of blood that rushed into Lu Ming's heart. Then, the drop of blood turned into tiny blood threads that swam through Lu Ming's blood vessels and seeped into Lu Ming's muscles and bones. Crack, crack, crack. Lu Ming's muscles began to wriggle and his bones vibrated. There was the sound of thunder and a dragon's roar. Lu Ming's physical body was being refined and strengthened. This feels great. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He could feel that his physical body was becoming stronger at a rapid speed. He could clearly feel the speed of his strengthening. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming felt that his physical body had doubled. The drop of blood had also shrunk a little. It was only a little, about 1% smaller. At this time, the drop of blood no longer emitted blood threads. It calmed down and seemed to have become one with his heart. At this time, Lu Ming opened his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, he felt sticky all over. Those were the impurities that had been expelled from the depths of his body. With a thought, flames spread out from his body and burned the impurities clean. The strength of my physical body has doubled. My combat strength has also increased by a lot. A smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. He then saw a fair and tender face magnifying in front of Lu Ming's eyes. She scrutinized Lu Ming, looking left and right. "Dandan, what are you looking at?" Lu Ming curled his lips. "Kid, you have a lot of secrets on you." Dandan's eyes rolled around and became more and more curious. "By the way, I have a question. What blood is this?" Lu Ming's consciousness sank into his heart. With a thought, the drop of blood appeared on Lu Ming's fingertip. Dandan's eyes widened as she stared at the drop of blood. Could this be the blood of the true dragon from before? Lu Ming said. "Nonsense. Nonsense. Let me tell you, that true dragon from before was not a real true dragon. It was formed from this drop of blood," Dandan said. "What?" Lu Ming was shocked. The dragon that fought the evil god tribe's patriarch in the ancient battlefield was formed from this drop of blood. It was just a drop of blood, but it had such shocking strength. Surprised, right? Let me tell you, this isn't blood essence. It's just an ordinary drop of blood. If I'm not wrong, this should be an ordinary drop of blood from the ancestral dragon," Dandan said. His eyes were still staring at the drop of blood. Gradually, his eyes burned with greed. He couldn't wait to swallow the drop of blood. Lu Ming hurriedly kept the drop of blood and put it back into his heart. "Ancestral dragon? What is the ancestral dragon?" Lu Ming was even more curious because he had never heard of this name before. The ancestral dragon is a legend. Legend has it that it's the oldest dragon in the world, the ancestor of all dragons. It's the first true dragon in the Tian Yuan world, Dandan said leisurely. There seemed to be a hint of respect in his eyes. The ancestor of all dragons, the first true dragon. Lu Ming was also shocked. This was incredible. Could it be that the ancestral dragon is stronger than the 9 dragons? Lu Ming continued to ask. "Nonsense. What are the 9 dragons?" The 9 dragons are just a mutation of a true dragon. They are more talented than ordinary true dragons. That's why they have such achievements. However, compared to the ancestral dragon, they are nothing. Legend has it that the ancestral dragon is a truly invincible existence that transcends the heavenly Tao. In other words, even the heavenly Tao has to submit to him. How is this possible? The heavenly emperor controls the heavenly Tao and is the pinnacle of martial arts. He is on equal footing with the heavenly Tao. How can there be a living being that transcends the heavenly Tao? Lu Ming widened his eyes in disbelief. In his knowledge, the heavenly emperor was the limit. He was on equal footing with the heavenly Tao. There was no heavenly tribulation. He was immortal and lived as long as heaven and earth. However, there was actually a living being that transcended the heavenly Tao. This really broke his understanding. In the end, Lu Ming looked at Dandan and said suspiciously, "You aren't bluffing again, are you?" "Bluff your head. Who's bluffing you?" "Let me tell you, I was lucky enough to meet the ancestral dragon once, so I'm very familiar with his aura. I will never forget it in my life. The drop of blood you got is a drop of the ancestral dragon's blood. I guess it was left behind by the ancestral dragon to suppress that passage," Dandan said. "No way. In that case, the ancestral dragon has an enemy." Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The ancestral dragon left a drop of blood to suppress that passage. Obviously, the ancestral dragon was on the heavenly realm's side. However, he only left a drop of blood and his real body was not there. This meant that the ancestral dragon had an enemy. If it was really as Dandan said, that the ancestral dragon was as powerful as the ancestral dragon, then the situation was really serious. Could it be that there was also such a terrifying existence on the side of the foreign races? Dandan also frowned, and his face was solemn. He said, "Obviously, there is also an existence of that level among the foreign races. Otherwise, the heavenly realm would not have fallen to this point. Once the ancestral dragon appeared, even the heavenly emperor would find it difficult to defeat him. Unfortunately, I have never seen an existence of that level. Lu Ming sighed. The war between the two realms was more tragic than he had imagined. With his cultivation, he could not get involved at all. The difference was too great. Then, he collected his thoughts and said, "How did the ancestral dragon's blood appear on my body? Is it related to the 9 dragons' blood essence?" "That's most likely the case. Kid, you're really lucky. Even I'm envious of you. Although this drop of blood is just an ordinary drop of blood from the ancestral dragon, and it was greatly damaged in the previous battle, it's still extraordinary. If you can refine it, the benefits it will bring to you will absolutely be amazing. I'm so envious of you, kid. What do you have?" Dandan's eyes turned red as he spoke. He was really envious. He paced around Lu Ming, wishing he could take a bite out of Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt his scalp go numb. He scolded, "What are you looking at? Get lost." "Oh right, how many days have we been back?" Dandan licked his lips and said, "It has been 10 days. 10 days? So fast." Lu Ming muttered. He felt that only a short while had passed. He did not expect it to be 10 days. I wonder how Senior Evil Sword Artist is doing. Chapter 22-24. Evil Swordsman's courtyard was near Lu Ming and the rest. Senior Mulins. When Lu Ming walked into Evil Swordsman's courtyard, he saw Mulins practicing a set of swordsmanship alone in the courtyard. Mulins stopped practicing when she saw Lu Ming. She smiled brightly and said, "Lu Ming, have you recovered from your injuries? I went to see you 2 days ago, and you were still practicing." "I've fully recovered." Lu Ming smiled and teased her. "Senior sister, you've become prettier after so many years." "Is that so?" Mulins smiled brightly and sighed. "It's a pity that some people don't know how to appreciate it." "How can that be? Who doesn't know how to appreciate it? They must be blind." Lu Ming continued to smile, which made Mulins smile even brighter. "Oh right, where's Senior Evil Swordsman? How are his injuries?" Lu Ming asked. "You came at a bad time. Senior Evil Swordsman left yesterday with Kenfei Ry and returned to the ancient battlefield." Mulins said. "Left?" Lu Ming was stunned. Senior Evil Swordsman said that he'd rather stay in the ancient battlefield. "It's more carefree," Mulins said. Lu Ming nodded. Perhaps Evil Swordsman had many comrades in the ancient battlefield. Countless people had died in the war back then, and many of his friends were buried there. How could he not feel pain? Senior Evil Swordsman also said that although the passageway has been completely destroyed, it will probably reappear in 100 years. Mulins said with a frown. On the other side of the passageway was Yuan continent, where her family and friends were. 100 years. 100 years later, the foreign tribes won't be able to cross. Lu Ming opened his eyes, revealing his strong confidence. "Oh right, senior sister, I'll be leaving soon. Come with us," Lu Ming said. "Sure." Mulins nodded. Now, she had obtained the inheritance of a peerless expert. Her cultivation was already at the peak of Quasi-Emperor. It was only a matter of time before she confirmed her Dao and became a martial emperor. Once one became an emperor, as long as one passed the heavenly emperor tribulation, one would have a long lifespan. So now, she would no longer run away. She wanted to grasp her own happiness. The two of them went back to Lu Ming's courtyard and found Dandan. Not long after, they found Song Tianlong and bid him farewell before flying towards the east of Two Realm City. In the ancient era, Dandan knew a person who had grasped many laws before becoming a martial emperor. That person had researched for his entire life. In his later years, he had made a major breakthrough. He might be able to help Lu Ming find a way to become a martial emperor. Now, they were going to that person's family to find that method. That clan was located in the southern part of the Grand Clarity Heaven Domain. The Grand Pure Sky Domain could be said to be the Heaven Domain with the widest territory in the 9 Heavens Domain in the Heaven Domain. Its size was not inferior to the Yuanlu. Two Realm City was at the westernmost part of the Grand Pure Sky Domain. Not long after, they flew out of the Two Realm City. What entered their eyes were vast mountains that towered into the clouds. There seemed to be no end to them. The origin chi in the heaven domain is indeed richer than the primordial realm. The laws are also clearer. Perhaps only the most powerful land in the 10 lands of the primordial realm, the divine fate land, can compare. Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. Then, the three of them flew into the sky and flew into the distance. Dandan was very familiar with the heaven domain. They flew past mountains and there was a public teleportation area. They were going to take the teleportation array to the south of the Grand Pure Sky domain. Half a month later, they had arrived at the south of the Grand Pure Sky domain. They were flying in a remote area. At a glance, there was a boundless sea of bamboo. Whether it was the mountains or the plains, they were all covered with bamboo. There were all kinds of bamboo. Dandan, we've been looking for so many days. Did you lead us to the wrong place? Lu Ming asked. How is that possible? How could I lead you to the wrong place? The Jiyu family is in this area. They live in seclusion in a purple bamboo forest. If there are no major problems, they won't move, Dandan said. The three of them looked around, searching for the purple bamboo forest. Another half a day passed. Found it. Dandan shouted and flew forward. Lu Ming and Mu Lan followed behind. Soon, a sea of bamboo appeared in front of them. It was all purple bamboo. At a glance, it was a sea of purple. Even the leaves of the purple bamboo were purple. The bamboo poles were sparkling and translucent, as if they were carved out of purple jade. In the depths of the bamboo forest, they saw a very elegant palace dotted in the boundless purple sea. Haha, so many years have passed. They're still here. Let's go. Dandan smiled and flew toward the palace. However, they did not fly far before a few figures rushed out from the bamboo forest below and blocked them. There were a total of 3 people, a middle-aged man and 2 young men. They had one thing in common. They all wore jade crowns on their heads and wore snow-white robes. They looked very elegant. Gentlemen, this is the Jiyu family. May I know what business you have with the Jiyu family? The middle-aged man cupped his fists and said politely. We're here to look for someone, of course, Dandan said casually. Looking for someone? May I know who you're looking for? The middle-aged man asked. Jiyu Xingyue, Jiyu Xingxing, and the others are around. I'm here to look for them, Dandan said. His words caused the expressions of the 3 loners to change greatly, becoming somewhat unsightly. Little brother, the 2 people you're talking about are the patriarchs of the Jiyu family. Moreover, it's too disrespectful of you to call them by their names. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed with anger, but he suppressed it and said with some displeasure. What disrespect? They're just my juniors. If I don't call them by their names, what should I call them? Dandan pursed his lips. How dare you? I think you're here to pick a fight. Do you really think that the Jiyu family is easy to bully? One of the young men shouted angrily. At the same time, a long sword appeared in his hand, and sword chi soared into the sky. The middle-aged man's expression was also very ugly. How old did Dandan look? How dare he say that the 2 patriarchs of the Jiyu family were his juniors? He was obviously here to pick a fight and humiliate the Jiyu family. Nestle, I'll tell you the truth. These people are actually going to attack, Dandan shouted. Lu Ming was speechless. How can you talk like that? It would be strange if they weren't angry when you said that. At that moment, figures flew out from the depths of the bamboo forest. Obviously, the commotion here had alarmed the people of the Jiyu family. There were dozens of people in total. Some were old, and some were young, but they all had one thing in common. They were all dressed in snow-white robes regardless of gender. They looked very elegant. What's going on? An old man with a fluttering white beard asked. Before the people of the Jiyu family could answer, Dandan shouted first, Get Jiyu Xingxing and Jiyu Xingyue to come out and see me. An old friend is here to see them. How dare you? How dare you insult the ancestors of the Jiyu family? Immediately, the people of the Jiyu family were enraged and roared. What? Ancestors? Are Jiyu Xingyue and Jiyu Xingxing dead? That can't be. Chapter 22-25. Lu Ming was speechless. How could this guy say anything? Sure enough, The Jiyu family's members were enraged. Even the old men were enraged, emitting terrifying auras. Oh, Emperor, we're in big trouble this time because of Dandan. Lu Ming sensed that two of them were emitting Emperor auras. Hey, what are you doing? The Jiyu family is known as the family of gentlemen. Every one of you calls yourself a gentleman. Are you trying to bully the weak with numbers? Dandan shouted. That shout caused the eyes of the Jiyu clan's elders and middle-aged men to flicker, and they all retracted their auras. However, the flames of fury in their eyes were still burning. How dare you insult our Jiyu family's ancestor? You must be taught a lesson. Otherwise, you'll think that our Jiyu family is easy to bully. Our Jiyu family won't bully the weak with numbers. Today, let me challenge you. A cold voice sounded, and then a young man stepped out. This young man wore a jade crown on his head and wore a long robe. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, looking extremely handsome. Seeing this young man walking out, the Jiyu family's members didn't stop him. Instead, they were confident in this young man. His cultivation is too weak. I'm not interested. Lu Ming, I'll leave him to you. Dandan waved his hand, showing no interest. This made the young man in white even angrier. I'm Jiyu Ingzhong. Who wants to enlighten me? The young man in white suppressed his anger and cupped his fists. The members of the Jiyu family are all gentlemen. Lu Ming thought. On the way here, he had heard Dandan mention this Jiyu family. According to Dandan, the Jiyu family was a bunch of stubborn blockheads who didn't know how to be flexible. Now that he looked at it, it was indeed so. However, Dandan had a good relationship with the Jiyu family in the past. I'm Lu Ming, please. Lu Ming stepped out and cupped his fists. Be careful. Jiyu Ingzhong warned. Then, a sword chime sounded and a long sword appeared in Jiyu Ingzhong's hand. A brilliant sword ray slashed at Lu Ming. 3-star illusionary emperor. The moment Jiyu Ingzhong made a move, Lu Ming saw through Jiyu Ingzhong's cultivation. Boom. Lu Ming made his move. He was very direct as he struck out with his palm. He did not use any precepts in this attack. It was purely an explosion of his physical body and saint energy. Boom. Lu Ming's palm slammed into his opponent's sword light. The sword light trembled unceasingly, and the sword whistled unceasingly. In the end, the sword light collapsed, and Lu Ming's figure retreated dozens of meters. What a powerful fleshly body. Are you an ancient body cultivator? No, your power is holy power. You haven't become an emperor yet. At first, Jiyu Ying thought that Lu Ming was an archaic body cultivator, but then he realized that Lu Ming was using saint power. Once he became an emperor, his saint energy would transform into world energy. However, Lu Ming was still using saint energy, which meant that Lu Ming had not become an emperor yet. This greatly shocked Jiyu Ying. The rest of the Jiyu family were also shocked. He had not become an emperor yet, but he could take Jiyu Ying's attack. This kind of strength was shocking enough. After all, Jiyu Ying was the #1 genius of the Jiyu family. He was a rare figure in the Jiyu family. Use your full strength. You can't win against me like this, Lu Ming said. He knew that Jiyu Ying had not used his full strength at all. Just now, it was just a probing attack. You haven't become an emperor yet. Although your combat strength is amazing, you're no match for me. Jiyu Ying spoke again, full of confidence. I haven't fought with my full strength. How do you know? Lu Ming was also very confident. In that case, let's fight. Jiyu Ying revealed his fighting spirit. His long sword vibrated, and the sword whistled unceasingly. The power of precepts burst out, causing Jiyu Ying's sword chi to become even more shocking. 2 types of precepts. One is the strongest precepts, and the other is the kingly precept. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Swoosh. Jiyu Ying moved again. He became one with his sword, turned into a sword light, and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming grasped the void, and the sword of death condensed. At the same time, a long river of precepts appeared on his body. This time, it really shocked the Jiyu family. Oh my god, what did I just see? 4 types of precepts. He has mastered 4 types of precept. He hasn't become an emperor yet, How can he master 4 types of precept? Legend has it that my Jiyu family has an ancestor who was extremely talented. Before he became an emperor, he also mastered many types of precept. There was a heated discussion among the Jiyu family. Jiyu Ying's eyes flickered, but his sword light did not stop, and he continued to attack Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved the sword of death and faced it head-on. Boom! The two collided, and an astonishing collision broke out. Sword chi wantonly, and many Jiyu family members were forced to retreat. After the two collided, their bodies shook and they retreated dozens of meters. The difference was that Lu Ming retreated a shorter distance. Second realm of the strongest law, this person is not weaker than Blue Cloud, Yang Shi, and the others. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Jiyu Ying had 2 types of precepts, and his strongest one had already reached the second realm. Moreover, his cultivation was a 3-star illusionary emperor. There was no doubt that he was a top-notch sky pride. If it was before, Lu Ming's sword of death only contained 4 types of precepts, and he would not be a match for such a sky pride. However, Lu Ming's physical body was twice as strong as before because of the condensation of the ancestral dragon's blood. This also made Lu Ming's combat strength stronger. Therefore, Lu Ming only had to use 4 types of precepts to gain the upper hand now. Again. The battle intent in Jiyu Ying's eyes grew stronger, and his aura suddenly strengthened. 3 types of precepts. Lu Ming's eyes moved slightly, and a 3rd type of precepts appeared on Jiyu Ying's body. This was a type of precepts of the monarch Dao, and it seemed to have reached the second realm. This was a sky pride who was stronger than Blue Cloud, Yang Shi, and the others. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sword light pierced through the air and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the sword of death and charged towards his opponent. Clang! Clang! The two collided continuously in the air, and sword chi overflowed and the sword whistled for thousands of miles. Fortunately, the people of the Jiyu family took action. A layer of light screen blocked the purple bamboo forest below. Otherwise, the purple bamboo forest within thousands of miles would be destroyed by the sword chi. Both of them were very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged hundreds of blows. Roar! The more they fought, the faster the blood chi in Lu Ming's body circulated. There was a dragon's roar in his body, and a layer of dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. Lu Ming was also stunned. Back then, when his cultivation was still weak, dragon scales would appear on the surface of his skin because of the 9 dragons bloodline. However, as his cultivation increased, he could already control the 9 dragons bloodline as he wished, and dragon scales no longer appeared on his surface. But now, when he circulated his body to the extreme, a layer of dragon scales appeared on the surface of his body. Perhaps this has something to do with the ancestral dragon's blood. Lu Ming thought of the ancestral dragon's blood. Chapter 22-26. Lu Ming became more and more courageous as the battle went on. Even though Jiyu Ying had used 3 types of laws, 2 of which were at the second realm, they were still blocked by Lu Ming. It was difficult for him to do anything to Lu Ming. Clang! Suddenly, Jiyu Ying's long sword buzzed, and the sword light became even brighter. This is the 4th level of law. This time, even Lu Ming was shocked. Jiyu Ying had actually mastered the 4th type of law, which was also a kind of king law. But fortunately, it was not at the second realm, but only at the first realm. But this was no small matter. A 3-star illusionary emperor, and at such a young age, had already mastered 4 types of laws. One of the strongest types of law, 3 of the king laws. And among them, the strongest type of law and one of the king laws had reached the second realm, and the other 2 king laws were also at the first realm of perfection. This kind of talent was amazing. For example, Blue Cloud and Yang Shi, who were known as the top geniuses of the heaven domain, were about the same age as Jiyu Ying, but they had only mastered 2 types of laws. I didn't expect that the Jiyu family would produce another top genius, Dandan whispered, and his eyes were also full of admiration. Many of the Jiyu family members also showed a proud look. Boom! Using the 4th type of law, although it was only at the first realm of perfection, it also increased Jiyu Ying's strength by a lot. This time, Lu Ming was sent flying by the impact. Lu Ming, I have to admit that your strength is indeed amazing, and it's the first time I've seen it in my life. Seeing that it's not easy for you to cultivate today's matter, you can leave, Jiyu Ying said. Thank you. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Jiyu Ying could indeed be called a gentleman, and this kind of bearing was not something that everyone had. However, Lu Ming's purpose of coming today had not been achieved, so how could he leave just like that? But, the battle between you and me is not over yet. Lu Ming smiled again. You haven't used your full strength yet. Jiyu Ying's eyes narrowed, and he said solemnly. Of course. Lu Ming smiled, and the color of the death sword in his hand became even more dazzling, and there were 2 more colors. They were the alchemy and equipment laws. 6 laws. Jiyu Ying cried out in surprise, his eyes revealing a look of disbelief. The other members of the Jiyu family were also shocked. He had not even become a martial emperor, yet he could control 6 types of laws. This was simply unbelievable. Could it be that the legends were true? That one of their ancestors had controlled many kinds of laws before becoming an emperor? Originally, there were some people who were skeptical about the legend of their ancestor being able to control many kinds of laws before becoming a martial emperor. That was because such a thing was simply too inconceivable. Furthermore, such a long time had passed. Who knew if that legend was true or false? However, after seeing Lu Ming today, they knew that the legend was true. But their shock was not over yet. Because a hammer appeared in Lu Ming's left hand. Hammer of Chaos. It was composed of the law of primal chaos and 6 other laws. At this moment, the people from the Jiyu family were completely stunned. Even Jiyu Ingzhong was the same. After a long while, they finally reacted. Heavens! Supreme laws of nature. 2 supreme laws of nature. A person who has not yet become an emperor not only controls many kinds of laws, but also 2 supreme laws of nature at the same time. How did he do it? Unbelievable, unbelievable. Whether it was the old or the young of the Jiyu family, they were all shocked beyond words. Controlling 2 supreme laws of nature had completely broken their understanding of the laws. Naturally, they were shocked. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, figures flew out from the depths of the purple bamboo forest. There were at least 100 of them, and a few of them exuded an astonishing cultivation base. They were all martial emperors. Lu Ming secretly sighed. The Heaven Realm was indeed the Heaven Realm. After countless years of inheritance, the experts were indeed astonishing. It was just the Jiyu family, but there were already 4 or 5 martial emperors. It was really hard to imagine. For example, there were not many martial emperors in the entire territory of the Primordial Mountain. In fact, it was not that the strength of the Primordial Realm was really so different from the Heaven Realm. There was a gap, but it would not be so ridiculous. The main reason was that many powerhouses of the Primordial Realm had left the Primordial Realm and came to the Heaven Realm to participate in the war and cultivate. For example, some of the overlord forces in the Divine Fateland were also very powerful. Many powerhouses stayed there. Greetings, Patriarch. The people of the Jiyu family bowed one after another to a middle-aged elegant man. This person was the Patriarch of the Jiyu family. All right, let's end this battle here. The Patriarch of the Jiyu family said. Yes. Jiyu Ying nodded heavily, withdrew his aura, and took a few steps back. The Patriarch of the Jiyu family looked at Lu Ming, full of amazement, and said, I didn't expect that there would be such a person in this world. Before becoming an martial emperor, he has already mastered multiple laws, and even 2 supreme laws of nature. What a miracle! Patriarch Jiyu, you flatter me. It's a pity that it's difficult to become an martial emperor. Lu Ming sighed. Indeed, my Jiyu family's ancestor also had an amazing figure. Before becoming an martial emperor, he also mastered multiple laws of nature. In the end, he did not become an martial emperor. What a pity. You all came here because you heard the legend of my Jiyu family's ancestor, right? The Patriarch of the Jiyu family said. That's right, that's indeed the case. Lu Ming nodded. Since you have something to ask of us, why are you insulting my Jiyu family's ancestor? What is the meaning of this? An elder of the Jiyu family walked out, still looking a little indignant. The patriarch of the Jiyu family also looked at Dandan. What insult! What do you juniors know? I already know Jiyu Xingyue, Jiyu Xingxing, and the others. Jiyu Lingtian, who has mastered multiple laws before becoming an martial emperor, is also my good friend. Dandan said casually. You dare! The people of the Jiyu family were furious. The patriarch of the Jiyu family raised his hand, and the people of the Jiyu family quieted down. May I ask, who are you? The patriarch of the Jiyu family asked. Then you'll have to see clearly. Dandan curled his lips. His body suddenly changed, and he transformed into his original form. Then, his body rapidly expanded into an incomparably huge tortoise, floating in the sky. This is the legendary top 10 battle beasts, the world divine tortoise. Someone exclaimed in shock. Everyone of the Jiyu family widened their eyes. The top 10 battle beasts had become legends by now, and they had long been forgotten. In the ancient war, the top 10 battle beasts were either dead or injured. They had long disappeared without a trace. Many people speculated that the top 10 battle beasts might have all died in battle. They did not expect that one of the top 10 battle beasts, the world divine tortoise, would actually appear here. You are the legendary senior tortoise? The patriarch of the Jiyu family was the first to react. Of course, it's me, the old man, the giant tortoise said, and then quickly shrank, turning into a little Taoist priest. Senior tortoise, what's with your cultivation? The patriarch of the Jiyu family asked. His attitude became respectful. Chapter 22-27. Sigh, it's all because of the battle back then. I almost died. If it weren't for my peerless strength, you wouldn't be able to see me now. Dandan sighed at first, but he soon became energetic and said, Who's the oldest in the Jiyu family now? The oldest in the Jiyu family now is the son of ancestor Lingtian, ancestor Jiyu Xinghue. Jiyu Xinghue, so it's that little brat. Ask him to come see me, Dandan said casually, acting like a senior expert. The eyelids of the other members of the Jiyu family twitched, and their faces were a little ugly. Jiyu Xinghue was the current ancestor of the Jiyu family. He had lived for a long time since ancient times, but now he was called a little brat by Dandan. What were they? However, when they remembered that he was the world turtle from back then, they understood. The top 10 battle beasts from back then were all peak powerhouses, and they had lived for a long time. Senior turtle, please wait for a moment. I'll report to the ancestor. The Jiyu family leader cupped his fists and then went to the palace in the depths of the Jiyu family. Lu Ming and the others didn't have to wait for long before they saw the Jiyu family leader and an old man with a head of white hair flying over. The old man had a ruddy face and white hair. He was in high spirits and his eyes were extremely bright. The Jiyu family leader followed behind the old man with a respectful expression. Greetings, ancestor. The members of the Jiyu family bowed to the old man at the same time. Needless to say, this was the oldest ancestor of the Jiyu family, Jiyu Xinghue. No need to be so polite. Jiyu Xinghue waved his hand and glanced at Dandan. His spiritual consciousness spread out and sensed Dandan's aura. He showed a hint of joy on his face and said, Senior turtle, it's really you. Ha ha ha, isn't it me? Little brat, I haven't seen you for many years and you've become so old. Haha, I'm still young. Dandan laughed. Senior turtle, I just heard that there's a little brother who has mastered many kinds of laws before becoming an emperor. He has even mastered 2 supreme laws. Are you here for the method left behind by my father? Jiyu Xinghue asked straightforwardly. That's right. I've heard that Jiyu Lingtian has been researching for his entire life, and before his time was up, he made great progress. That's why I'm here to see what he's come up with, Dandan said. Jiyu Xinghue looked at Lu Ming in surprise. He had lived for a very long time. When he heard that someone had mastered multiple kinds of laws before achieving the martial monarch realm, including 2 of the strongest laws, even his heart could not help but tremble. He could not help but feel curious. Little brother, can you reveal your nomological laws to this old man? Jiyu Xinghue said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. With a thought, the 7 types of laws appeared one after another. Jiyu Xinghui's eyes were bright as he sighed, a miracle, a miracle. After a while, he said, back then, Father did indeed make a great breakthrough. He once said that he finally found the method to become a monarch. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it himself, and could only leave it for the fated ones. Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and his heart could not help but beat faster. Jiyu Xinghui's words were obviously saying that Jiyu Lingtian had really found the method back then. Haha, Jiyu Lingtian is indeed a rare hero. I didn't expect him to really find the method. It's a pity for him. If he wasn't so ambitious, his achievements wouldn't be much weaker than mine. Dandan sighed. It was rare to see such an exaggerated person. Jiyu Xinghui's eyes were also a little sad. Senior Turtle, come with me, Jiyu Xinghui said. Then, he made a gesture of invitation and walked towards the depths of the Jiyu family. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulins followed. The rest of the Jiyu family also dispersed. Lu Ming and the other two followed Jiyu Xinghui. They flew past a large number of palaces and came to a quiet place. It was very quiet here. There was only a small house made of purple bamboo. It was quiet and elegant. Outside the house, there was a small courtyard. There was a stone table and a few stone benches on the side. Senior Turtle, take a seat. I'll be back soon, Jiyu Xinghui said. Then, he walked into the bamboo house. After a while, he took out a bronze box and walked out. This is left behind by Father, Jiyu Xinghui said. Then, he opened the bronze box. A jade box appeared inside. My father placed his lifetime of research into this jade box. However, no one has been able to open this jade box since my father passed away. There is a formation placed on top of it. If one tries to forcefully open it, this jade box, including the things inside, will be turned into ashes, Jiyu Xinghui said. It can't be opened. That can't be. Dandan was speechless. Lu Ming's heart also sank. Yes, but I guess that father wanted to leave it to a fated person like little brother Lu Ming who has mastered many laws before becoming an emperor. Little brother Lu Ming, you can take a look. Perhaps you can open it. Jiyu Xinghui handed the jade box to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and carefully studied it. The jade box was covered with fine runes. Lu Ming looked at it for a long time, but he didn't find anything. Let me see. Dandan shouted. Lu Ming handed the jade box to Dandan. Dandan studied it carefully. He was an expert in formations. Sure enough, he made a big discovery. His eyes lit up and he said, no wonder no one can open it. It turns out that such a condition is required. Haha. Dandan, you can see it? Lu Ming asked. Of course, don't you know who I am? I'm the leader of the top 10 beasts, the world turtle. There's no formation that I can't see. If you want to open this jade box, you need to meet 2 conditions. First, you need to use sacred power. Second, you need to use 5 laws at the same time, but it's not specified which 5 laws. If these 2 conditions are separated, it's very simple. However, when combined, it's very harsh because both conditions need to be fulfilled by the same person. Dandan explained. They were stunned for a moment, then they immediately reacted. The condition was obvious. It required a person who hadn't become an emperor yet to master 5 laws at the same time. This was what Jiyu Lingtian had left for people like him. Lu Ming, give it a try. Dandan handed the jade box to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and followed Dandan's instructions. He circulated his sacred power and controlled the 5 laws at the same time, shrouding them on the jade box. Buzz. The jade box began to move. It began to emit light, and the runes on it flowed. Finally, with a click, the jade box opened. There was a jade token in the jade box. It's open. Jiyu Xinghui was also very excited. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulins were also very excited. Lu Ming, quickly take a look. Is there a way for you to successfully prove your Tao and become an emperor? Dandan said excitedly. Lu Ming took a deep breath, took out the jade token, and sank his spiritual consciousness into it. My life is Jiyu Lingtian. Immediately, a voice rang in Lu Ming's mind. Chapter 22-28. Lu Ming learned about Jiyu Lingtian's life from the Jade Token. Jiyu Lingtian was a peerless genius. He was the most dazzling star in the heaven realm during that era. However, Jiyu Lingtian's ambition was higher than the sky. He wanted to walk a different path, a path that no one had walked before. Before he became a martial emperor, he relied on his terrifying talent to cultivate several types of laws. He wanted to use these laws to create a small world when he became a martial emperor. Unfortunately, in the end, he was unable to complete this path. He was blocked, and this block lasted for an entire lifetime. Jiyu Lingtian spent his entire life researching. Finally, in his later years, he found a way. Before he became a martial emperor, he had already mastered many types of laws. If he wanted to become a martial emperor, he had to maintain balance. This was because it was too difficult to condense the heart of the realm when one became a martial emperor. The laws would collide with each other and burst out with terrifying force that could tear the martial emperor's saint heart and body. That was why it was difficult to become a martial emperor. However, as long as the laws reached a balance, they wouldn't burst out with tearing force. Then, one would be able to successfully evolve the heart of the realm and become a martial emperor. However, it was difficult to achieve a balance with many laws. In this aspect, not being a martial emperor gave one an advantage. That was because an Elysian child controlled one of the strongest laws. If you controlled other laws, it would be very difficult for you to achieve a balance. According to Jiyu Lingtian's speculation, a martial emperor could achieve a balance with 3, 6, or 9 martial emperor laws and become a martial emperor. However, before becoming a martial emperor, those who had the ability and talent to control many types of laws were all martial emperors. They were all martial emperors. No matter how many laws were combined, it was difficult to achieve a balance with one supreme law. Because the supreme law was too powerful, it was difficult for other laws to maintain a balance with it. Jiyu Lingtian speculated that if a person could control 3 supreme laws and 6 martial emperor laws, they would be able to maintain a balance and successfully evolve the heart of the realm. Or, if a person could control 6 or 9 supreme laws, they would also be able to evolve the heart of the realm. 3 supreme laws and 6 martial emperor laws. I can do it. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He was overwhelmed by ecstasy. Currently, he had already grasped 2 supreme laws and 5 monarch laws. He was completely capable of comprehending 1 more supreme law and 1 more monarch law. Jiyu Lingtian also mentioned that the rules had to be on the same level in order to maintain a balance. For example, if one of the laws had reached the second realm while the others were all at the first realm, that would not do either. Lu Ming secretly rejoiced that he had yet to reach the second realm of laws. He would be able to achieve the martial monarch realm once he mastered the first level of the martial monarch realm. Lu Ming's words delighted Dandan and Mulins. Lu Ming, quick, let me take a look. Dandan shouted. Lu Ming handed the jade tablet to Dandan. Dandan immediately looked at it. After reading it, Dandan fell silent. Then, he handed the jade tablet to Jiyu Xinghui. After that, Mulins also took a look at it. What a pity. Jiyu Lingtian is indeed amazing. In the end, he managed to grasp 1 supreme law and 8 monarch laws. However, he still could not achieve a balance and could not become an martial monarch. Dandan sighed. Jiyu Xinghui's eyes were filled with sadness. The method that father recorded might seem simple, but it's actually extremely difficult to achieve. It's impossible for anyone to control multiple laws before becoming a martial monarch. Only someone with the talent of the Elysian child would be able to do it. However, it is difficult for a person to master more than 2 supreme laws at the same time. Therefore, almost no one can achieve this condition. In my opinion, father's method is completely tailor-made for brother Lu Ming. Jiyu Xinghui sighed. That's right. Dandan also sighed. Mulins was also happy for Lu Ming. Brother Lu Ming, I hope that you can become an martial monarch. This way, you will have fulfilled father's last wish. Jiyu Xinghui said. Definitely. Lu Ming was extremely determined. How about this? I will bring you to a place. It will help you comprehend many laws and become an martial monarch as soon as possible. Jiyu Xinghui said. Then, Jiyu Xinghui stepped into the air and left. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulins followed. They went deeper into the purple bamboo forest. Not long after, they came in front of a huge ancient tree. This ancient tree was hundreds of meters tall. It was as thick as a dozen people hugging it. Jiyu Xinghui waved his hand, and a light door appeared on the ancient tree. It turns out that there is a small world hidden here. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It was obvious that the light door on the ancient tree was the entrance to a small world. Jiyu Xinghui entered the light door. Lu Ming and the others also entered one by one. As soon as they entered the light door, they came to another world. The laws here are so clear. It gives me a refreshing feeling, and my heart feels empty. As soon as they entered this small world, Lu Ming and the others felt something unusual. Especially Lu Ming, he felt like he was sitting under the tree of enlightenment and cultivating. Follow me. Jiyu Xinghui smiled and stepped into the air. After flying for a long distance, they came to a mountain range. However, this mountain range was barren. There was no vegetation at all. There was only a giant tree in the middle of the mountain range. That's the tree of enlightenment. Looking at that giant tree, Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Yes, there was indeed a tree of enlightenment here. Although the species was different from Lu Ming's, it was indeed the tree of enlightenment. And this tree of enlightenment was completely incomparable to Lu Ming's. Lu Ming's tree of enlightenment had been cultivated until now. It had taken root on a mountain peak in the mountain river diagram and was more than 30 meters tall. However, the one in front of them was at least 1,000 meters tall. The ancient tree towered into the sky, and the great Tao surrounded the branches. Everyone felt that their hearts were empty and their minds were incomparably clear. The effect was many times better than Lu Ming's. Great, your Jiyu family actually secretly cultivated an ancient tree of enlightenment. Amazing. Dandan grinned and sighed, his eyes shining. Unfortunately, after countless years of cultivation, it still hasn't fully matured. Jiyu Xinghui sighed. It's already not bad to be able to cultivate it to 1,000 meters tall. I also had one back then, but unfortunately, it wasn't mature either. It was destroyed in the later battle. As he said that, he glanced at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His tree of enlightenment was cultivated from a dead branch, and that branch appeared together with Dandan back then. Could it be that Dandan's tree of enlightenment was the same one? That was very likely. You can cultivate here from now on, Jiyu Xinghui said. Haha, good, good. Lu Ming, this is the most suitable place for your current stage, Dandan said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed. Chapter 22-29. The Jiyu family's enlightenment ancient tree was already 1,000 meters tall. Its effect was much better than his own enlightenment ancient tree. It was the most suitable place to comprehend the laws. You guys can cultivate here. If you need anything, just send me a message. Jiyu Xinghui left behind a message and a voice transmission jade talisman. His figure moved and disappeared. Lu Ming and the other two headed towards the enlightenment ancient tree. As they approached, they found a few people sitting cross-legged under the enlightenment ancient tree, cultivating. Obviously, they were the Jiyu family's people. Lu Ming also finally understood why Jiyu Ingzhong could control 4 types of laws at such a young age. He had even reached the second level of 2 of them. It was definitely related to the enlightenment ancient tree. When the 3 of them arrived, someone from the Jiyu family sensed them and opened his eyes to look at Lu Ming and the other 2. He was surprised. This was because he did not know Lu Ming and the other 2 at all. However, he was only surprised and did not say anything. This was because this was the Jiyu family's secret place. Without the Jiyu family's higher-ups leading the way, no one would be able to find it. Obviously, Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulins were able to enter because the higher-ups of the Jiyu family had brought them here. Since it was the higher-ups of the Jiyu family who brought them here, he naturally would not say anything. He nodded to Lu Ming and the other 2 and closed his eyes to continue cultivating. The 2 of you can cultivate here. I'm going to find a place to go into seclusion and break through to the true Emperor realm, Dandan said. I hope you break through soon. Otherwise, when I become an emperor, I'll catch up to you very quickly. Lu Ming laughed. Dream on, you want to catch up to me? Dandan curled his lips unhappily, then his figure flashed and disappeared into the distance in an instant. Lu Ming and Mulins came under the enlightenment ancient tree. They each found a piece of green stone and sat cross-legged on it. The enlightenment ancient tree was 1,000 meters tall and was incomparably huge. Between the branches and leaves, there were grand dows. Whether it was comprehending laws or divine abilities, it was very useful here. To comprehend 9 types of laws, 3 supreme laws and 6 monarch Tao laws, I'm still lacking 1 supreme law and 1 monarch Tao law. Which 2 should I comprehend? Lu Ming pondered. If it's monarch Tao law, why don't I comprehend the penetration law? Lu Ming's heart moved. The law of penetration and the power of penetration were extremely shocking. If one could comprehend it, one's attack power would increase by a lot. Furthermore, the 6-feathered divine wings that Dandan imparted to Lu Ming contained 6 types of laws. Apart from the law of array, alchemy, and weapons, the law of penetration was also one of them. After comprehending the law of penetration, the power of the 6-feathered divine wings would increase explosively. After deciding on the monarch Tao law, it was time to decide which supreme law to comprehend. Of the remaining 8 supreme laws, Lu Ming was most optimistic about the destiny law. Because the destiny law was indeed mysterious and powerful. However, the destiny law had a high requirement of talent. It was also the most difficult to cultivate. Lu Ming thought for a while, then shook his head and eliminated the destiny law. Now that I have the chaos law and death law, I'm not weak in terms of offense. The next law doesn't necessarily have to increase my offense. Increasing my defense or vitality is also very important. Then, the life law. In the end, Lu Ming decided to comprehend the life law. Xiong Xiong had the life body, so Lu Ming was more familiar with the life law. Moreover, once one grasped the life law, their vitality would become astonishing. Even if they suffered some fatal injuries, they would be able to recover quickly. This would greatly increase their ability to survive. For the next 2 laws, Lu Ming decided to comprehend the life law and the penetration law. Closing his eyes, Lu Ming's mind became empty. His mind merged with heaven and earth as he captured the fluctuations of the laws. Penetration, penetrate everything, nothing can stop it. Lu Ming murmured and understood something. As Lu Ming comprehended more and more laws, he had more experience in comprehending laws. Hence, he became more and more efficient in comprehending laws. In just a few days, the penetration law had reached the entry level. Half a month later, Lu Ming successfully comprehended the life law and reached the entry level. In this way, he had already grasped 9 types of laws. What he needed to do now was to increase the maturity of the laws. The alchemy law, tools law, penetration law, and life law. Now, Lu Ming still had 4 types of laws that had not reached the first level of perfection. However, the alchemy law and tools law were already about 90% mature. Lu Ming wholeheartedly comprehended the 4 types of laws. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. On this day, thunder rumbled in the distance. Lu Ming, who was cultivating, and the people of the Jiyu family all opened their eyes. Someone has become an emperor and is going through the emperor tribulation. Someone from the Jiyu family whispered. Senior sister Mulins is going to become an emperor. Lu Ming smiled. Mulins had obtained the inheritance of a peerless expert. The process of inheritance lasted for 5 years. In these 5 years, Mulins's cultivation soared to the limit of the boundary emperor before stopping. Mulins was originally just a hair away from becoming an emperor. Now, after more than half a year of accumulation and polishing, Mulins finally crossed the bottleneck and became an emperor. Lu Ming took a step forward and came to a place not far from Mulins. Mulins's body was covered in a layer of bloodlight, which turned into attacks to resist the heavenly tribulation. It seemed that Mulins was still quite relaxed. Not long after, Mulins successfully passed the heavenly tribulation. Boom! At this moment, a shocking change occurred in Mulins's body. It was the evolution of the sacred heart. The sacred energy turned into the power of the world. A faint Emperor's aura was emitted from Mulinza's body. Half an hour later, Mulinza's aura stabilized and she officially entered the martial Emperor realm. Senior sister, congratulations on confirming your Dao and becoming an Emperor. Lu Ming stepped forward and congratulated Lu Ming. Mulins looked at Lu Ming with joy on her face. She said, I believe that junior brother will become an emperor soon. Little girl, not bad. You became an emperor so quickly. It seems that you are really suitable for Shuexiu's cultivation path. A voice was heard. Then, with a flash of light, Dandan's figure appeared. Dandan, you also broke through? Lu Ming looked at Dandan and asked curiously. Of course. What kind of existence am I? A mere true emperor is nothing. I will soon break through to the great emperor realm, then the heavenly emperor realm. Finally, I will surpass the past and break through to the supreme realm. Ha ha ha. Dandan laughed proudly, as if he was thinking of a beautiful future. His eyes were shining. This guy, Lu Ming, despised him, but he was also happy for him. Dandan laughed for a while and said, Lu Ming, come. Let's spar and see how you have comprehended the laws during this period. You are now a true emperor. If I spar with you, won't I be abused? Lu Ming curled his lips and immediately refused. Chapter 2230. Ha ha ha, I know you're afraid of me. However, I won't use the power of the world. I'll just spar with you using the laws. Why are you still afraid? Dandan grinned and looked at Lu Ming from the corner of his eyes. Lu Ming was unhappy and said, Come on, let's go. Let's spar a little further away. After they flew a distance away, they began to fight. Dandan did not use his cultivation to suppress Lu Ming. He only used a little bit of the power of the world to activate the laws and fought with Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was defeated by Dandan in one move. This made Lu Ming speechless. Was the difference so big? Although Dandan also controlled 9 types of laws, he also controlled 9 types of laws. However, after colliding with Dandan's laws, his laws were completely vulnerable. Lu Ming, although you control a lot of laws, it's only the most superficial fusion. You don't have an ancient scripture to fully unleash the power of these laws. Therefore, the power is too weak. Dandan said. It's a pity that I don't have an ancient scripture. Lu Ming also had a bitter face. Although he created the Hammer of Chaos and the Sword of Death, he had only created them recently and was far from reaching the major completion. Their power was limited. Those ancient scriptures were not created by others. Those who created the ancient scriptures also created those ancient scriptures according to the laws they controlled. Right now, you're just inexperienced. You can't fully unleash the magical powers you created. If you can fully unleash the laws you control, the power will definitely be stronger than many ancient scriptures. After all, you created them yourself. Dandan explained. Dandan, since you're so experienced, why don't you teach me? Lu Ming smiled and looked at Dandan. Haha, now you know how powerful I am. Don't worry, I want to spar with you because I want to guide you. Come again, use your full strength. Dandan laughed loudly. He was very pleased with himself. With one hand behind his back, he had the demeanor of a peerless expert. This time, Lu Ming didn't make things difficult for Dandan. After all, he had a favor to ask. Whoosh. Then, Lu Ming's figure flashed, and the hammer of primal chaos appeared in his hand, and he smashed it toward Dandan. Dandan pointed out and at least 5 types of laws exploded out, forming a finger energy that slammed into the primal chaos hammer. The primal chaos hammer violently trembled before exploding. Lu Ming's hammer of primal chaos also contained 5 types of nomological laws, but they were like tofu. On the other hand, Dandan's 5 types of nomological laws were like steel, as they immediately defeated Lu Ming's hammer of primal chaos. Again, Lu Ming then charged towards Dandan, resisting with his laws. But every time, Lu Ming was completely defeated. A day later, Lu Ming was already exhausted. He then stopped. But in this battle, Lu Ming had gained a lot. He was more proficient in the use of the nomological laws. When he used the hammer of primal chaos or the sword of death, the various nomological laws complemented each other, and the explosive power also increased. Dandan, although bragging every day and sometimes unreliable, was really experienced. Moreover, the world divine turtle was known as the world. Its innate control of the nomological laws was unparalleled, and it was stronger than the other top 10 battle beasts. Therefore, it could often point out Lu Ming's shortcomings in the use of the nomological laws, allowing Lu Ming to improve rapidly. Go back and digest it well. We'll continue the competition in 7 days. Dandan grinned and went to enlightenment. The few of them returned to the enlightenment ancient tree and continued to cultivate. Mulins had been watching Lu Ming and Dandan fight before. She had gained a lot and needed to digest it. In the following days, Lu Ming had one more thing to do, and that was to fight with Dandan. Every 7 days, he would fight with Dandan. His comprehension of the various nomological laws and the use of the nomological laws were improving by leaps and bounds. The mastery of the 4 nomological laws of alchemy, tools, penetration, and life increased very quickly. After all, this was under the Enlightenment ancient tree. Coupled with Lu Ming's own talent, it was difficult not to improve. At the same time, Lu Ming's 2 self-created supernatural powers, the Hammer of Primal Chaos and the Sword of Death, were getting stronger and stronger. Not only was the original use of the nomological laws, but also the penetration nomological laws. One supernatural power contained 7 nomological laws, and its power was constantly increasing. Finally, after Lu Ming cultivated here for a year, he had another nomological law that reached perfection. Alchemy nomological laws. The alchemy nomological laws reached perfection, and the nomological laws formed a river. Lu Ming's physical body and saint power were tempered again, and greatly improved. Without a doubt, Lu Ming's combat strength was also increasing rapidly. After cultivating here for a year and a half, Lu Ming's tools' nomological laws had also reached perfection. Until now, Lu Ming still had the penetration nomological laws and life nomological laws that had not reached perfection in the first realm. The life nomological law was an ultimate nomological law, and relatively speaking, the speed of improvement was much slower. Far away from the Enlightenment ancient tree, on a flat ground, Lu Ming and Dandan continued to fight. Although Lu Ming's strength was increasing rapidly, Dandan's improvement was even faster. Lu Ming felt that the 9 nomological laws that Dandan controlled had probably reached the second realm. Lu Ming was naturally no match for him. The 2 of them exchanged a blow, and Lu Ming retreated. Unfortunately, my ultimate nomological laws can't be merged together, Lu Ming sighed. Whether it was the Hammer of Chaos or the Sword of Death, they both only contained one ultimate nomological law. If other ultimate nomological laws could be merged, the power would probably skyrocket. However, if ultimate nomological laws could not be merged, it would be too difficult to merge them. Not necessarily. Dandan said, it said that it's impossible for one person to control 2 ultimate nomological laws, but didn't you do it? Since you can control multiple ultimate nomological laws, you can naturally merge them into one supernatural power. Speaking of which, Lu Ming, your path is completely different from others. You cultivated the ancient scriptures created by others, but it can't fully stimulate your potential. Other people's ancient scriptures have a single ultimate nomological law as the core, but you control multiple ultimate nomological laws. If you want to fully stimulate your potential, you need to create your own. Dandan was rarely serious as he seriously guided Lu Ming. Lu Ming was greatly moved. Indeed, those peerless heroes who created various ancient scriptures did not control multiple ultimate nomological laws. At most, they controlled one ultimate nomological law and then combined it with other monarch nomological laws and ordinary nomological laws to create it. None of them were suitable for Lu Ming. If Lu Ming wanted to tap into his full potential, he had to create his own ancient scriptures and supernatural powers. Lu Ming felt suddenly enlightened. He felt that he could see his future path. Dandan, thank you. Lu Ming thanked Dandan very seriously. Ha ha ha, who am I? The leader of the top 10 battle beasts, an invincible peerless genius. Do you believe me now? Dandan grinned and laughed, feeling very comfortable and happy. Come, continue. Let me guide you so that you can merge ultimate nomological laws as soon as possible. Dandan shouted, full of enthusiasm. Although Dandan did not control multiple ultimate nomological laws, his experience was there, and it was very helpful to Lu Ming. However, it was too difficult to merge different ultimate nomological laws into one supernatural power. Chapter 2231. Winter passed and spring came. Time flew by. Lu Ming had been cultivating here for 3 years. After 3 years of hard work, his law of penetration had reached the first level of perfection. Lu Ming's physical body and saint power had become stronger after repeated refinements. His physical strength was incomparably strong, and his saint power was condensed to the extreme. Moreover, his application of the law had become stronger, and the power of his self-created divine powers had increased by a lot. Compared to 3 years ago, Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by leaps and bounds. However, his law of life was still a little short and had not reached perfection. It was still at the 99% stage. Lu Ming was not in a hurry. It was indeed a little slow to improve his ultimate law, and this was still cultivating under the ancient tree of enlightenment. If it were in the outside world, it would be impossible to cultivate so many laws to the first level of perfection in 3 years. On the same flat ground, Lu Ming and Dandan were still fighting. Swoosh, swoosh. Lu Ming held the sword of death in his hand and slashed out continuously. Its power was extremely shocking. However, Dandan was relaxed. With a casual wave of his hand, various laws circulated and easily blocked Lu Ming's attack. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Lu Ming's eyes were firm and persistent. He was trying to integrate the law of chaos into the sword of death. Just a little bit more, merge for me. Suddenly, Lu Ming roared. The law of death in his body surged. The sword of death in his hand vibrated constantly, and the sword's roar shook the sky. Buzz. Suddenly, the power of the sword of death skyrocketed, and a terrifying sword light slashed at Dandan. This sword not only contained the power of the law of death, but also the heavy power of the law of chaos. Success. Lu Ming was ecstatic. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming's body trembled. He felt a terrifying tearing force from the 2 ultimate laws. His palm was about to be torn apart by this tearing force. Nestle. On the opposite side, Dandan shouted. With a shake of his palm, a tortoise shell appeared and blocked in front of him like a shield. Boom. With a violent explosion, Dandan's tortoiseshell shield exploded. Dandan quickly retreated, avoiding the tip of the sword of death. Kid, you've succeeded. Dandan looked at Lu Ming. The sword of death in Lu Ming's hand disappeared. His palms and arms were covered in cracks, blood seeping out from them. Circulating the law of life, the wound on his arm quickly healed. Unfortunately, the 2 types of laws will still clash and erupt with astonishing power, causing me to be injured. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. That's normal. You've just started the fusion and aren't familiar with it yet. However, this proves that we're on the right track. As long as you keep trying, the side effects will disappear. Ha ha ha, we've created history. If this were to spread, I'm afraid it would scare people to death. Dandan was extremely excited. Lu Ming also revealed a smile. He understood that after such a long period of hard work, he had finally succeeded. Although the fusion of 2 types of supreme laws would cause him to be injured, it was still incomplete. As it continued to be perfected in the future, these side effects would definitely disappear. Under the effect of the law of life, the wound on Lu Ming's arm had completely healed. Dandan, again. Lu Ming rushed towards Dandan. Where could he find such a good sparring partner? Boom. The sword of death reappeared in Lu Ming's hand. Immediately, the law of primal chaos erupted and merged with the sword of death. Buzz. This time, he immediately succeeded. However, the fusion still clashed and a terrifying power erupted, causing Lu Ming's arm to be covered in wounds. However, the power of this sword strike had reached an astonishing level. Dandan needed to focus her attention in order to block it. This could be considered Lu Ming's strongest killing move. If I integrate the law of life in the future, the power will definitely be stronger, Lu Ming thought to himself. Lu Ming was about to continue looking for Dandan when a figure flashed and a white-haired old man appeared. It was Jiyu Xinghui. This was the first time Jiyu Xinghui had appeared in 3 years. Little brother Lu Ming, it seems that you have made great progress in these years. Jiyu Xinghui smiled. Senior, thank you for bringing me here to cultivate. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have to cultivate for a few more years to achieve my current achievement. Lu Ming said. Kid, why are you here today? Dandan walked over and said casually. Of course, there's something big. Jiyu Xinghui said. Something big? What's the big deal? Dandan asked curiously. Mount Eternal has appeared. It is said that the indestructible ancient scripture is hidden in Mount Eternal. Jiyu Xinghui said. What? Dandan almost jumped up. His eyes lit up as he stared at Jiyu Xinghui and said, Is that true? It's true. Mount Eternal has appeared in the void and is now hovering above Alcade Ancient City. Now, countless experts from the Taiching Celestial Domain are rushing over to get the indestructible ancient scripture. So, I'm here to ask if you want to go, Jiyu Xinghui said. Of course, we're going. We can't miss the indestructible ancient scripture of the indestructible emperor. Dandan's eyes lit up. By the side, Lu Ming and Mu Lan were somewhat dumbstruck. They had never heard of Mount Eternal or the indestructible ancient scripture. Is the indestructible ancient scripture that magical? Lu Ming asked. Of course. It is said that those who cultivate the indestructible ancient scripture will be immortal and have extremely strong vitality. Even a trace of blood, a strand of hair, or a trace of soul can be recovered. Although the law of life has strong vitality, it is far inferior to cultivating the indestructible ancient scripture. The indestructible ancient scripture is the trump card of the indestructible emperor. Do you know about the emperor? He is an existence on par with the Chaos Emperor. Dandan rattled on, explaining a bunch of things. Lu Ming was shocked. He was shocked by the incredible power of the indestructible ancient scripture and the strength of the indestructible emperor. According to Dandan, those who could be called venerable sovereigns were all invincible figures. They were known as venerable sovereigns and were invincible in the world. For example, the Chaos Emperor and the indestructible emperor. If the indestructible emperor is so strong, how can he be so strong? Then how can others get the indestructible ancient scripture? Won't we be courting death if we go? Lu Ming asked curiously. The indestructible emperor died a long time ago, Dandan said. Died? How can such a person who cultivated the indestructible ancient scripture die? Lu Ming was shocked and puzzled. Sigh, it's all because of the evil god tribe. In the ancient era, at the beginning of the war, the indestructible emperor was besieged by several people of the evil god tribe. In the end, nothing was left of him. Even if he had the indestructible ancient scripture, he still died. Since the fall of the indestructible emperor, Mount Eternal, where he lived, escaped into the endless void and wandered in the eternal darkness of the void. No one could find it. I really didn't expect Mount Eternal to suddenly appear. Many people guessed that the indestructible ancient scripture is about to reappear. Jiyu Xinghui sighed. Lu Ming was also interested. Okay, let's go and take a look. Chapter 2232. Before becoming an emperor, it was a good opportunity to go out for a walk and adjust his condition to prepare for becoming an emperor. At the same time, he could also try his luck. If he could really get the indestructible ancient scripture, it would be a great stroke of luck. Immediately, Lu Ming, Mulins, and Dandan followed Jiyu Xinghui and left for the Jiyu clan's palace. This time, the Jiyu clan would also send people to try their luck. Mount Eternal had been wandering in the eternal darkness for so many years. It was very difficult to get it by relying on one's cultivation alone. It would require a fortuitous encounter. Therefore, the Jiyu clan sent some geniuses. The number one genius of the Jiyu clan, Jiyu Ingzhong, was naturally among them. However, there were also many experts. There were true emperors and great emperors who were led by the Jiyu clan's patriarch. Everyone soared into the sky and headed towards the nearest teleportation area. The Alcade Ancient City was located in the western part of the Grand Pure Sky Domain. A few days later, The Jiyu clan had already arrived at the Alcade Ancient City. The Alcade Ancient City was one of the oldest ancient cities in the Heaven Domain. In the Heaven Domain, there were not many that could be called ancient cities. Each of them had spanned countless years and were full of mottled traces of time. During this period of time, this ancient city that had experienced countless years had become incomparably lively. There was a sea of people, all of them experts. There were experts from all over the grand pure sky domain. Not only the human race, but also the various divine beast races. For example, true dragons, heavenly tigers, phoenixes, and others could be seen from time to time. In the sky above the northern gate of the Alcade Ancient City, an incomparably huge divine mountain was suspended there. It was huge and majestic, like the legendary immemorial divine mountain. This was Mount Eternal. Lu Ming and the others did not enter the Alcade Ancient City at first. Instead, they headed towards Mount Eternal. Boom! Boom! From afar, they could see a dazzling light constantly flickering and hear a shocking roar. Someone wanted to climb Mount Eternal, and it was a very shocking expert. Lu Ming saw a figure covered in divine light rushing towards Mount Eternal at an astonishing speed. However, no matter how fast he rushed towards Mount Eternal, it seemed that he could not cross the seemingly short distance. It was difficult for him to get close to Mount Eternal. There was a layer of light on Mount Eternal. It seemed to stop there, but it was impossible to get close. "Is that a heavenly emperor?" Someone from the Jiyu family asked in a hoarse voice. "That's right, it's indeed a heavenly emperor realm figure," the patriarch of the Jiyu family said. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Even a heavenly emperor realm figure was unable to ascend Mount Eternal? Chirp! At this moment, a cry echoed in the sky. Everyone saw a phoenix spreading its wings and soaring towards Mount Eternal. The aura emitted by the phoenix was shocking. Its body was enormous, and when it spread its wings, they covered the sky and covered the sun. This was absolutely an incomparably terrifying phoenix. Its cultivation was not weaker than that human race powerhouse from before. Without a doubt, it was a heavenly emperor realm existence. With a flap of its wings, the void collapsed, forming a terrifying dark space. It flew towards Mount Eternal at an unimaginable speed. However, it was still difficult for this terrifying phoenix to ascend Mount Eternal. Roar! A roar reverberated in all directions. An incomparably huge white tiger, filled with boundless killing intent, rushed towards Mount Eternal. However, like the phoenix, it was still unable to ascend the mountain. The white tiger roared and stretched out a huge claw. It was incomparably terrifying. It was even bigger than a mountain and grabbed towards Mount Eternal from the sky. Obviously, the white tiger was furious that it could not ascend the mountain. It wanted to blow up Mount Eternal. Its huge claw was even bigger than Mount Eternal. Unfortunately, when it grabbed down, Mount Eternal was like an illusion. It grabbed empty air and nothing was caught. Next, everyone saw a few powerful existences trying to ascend Mount Eternal, but in the end, it was to no avail. There were many people watching nearby. Lu Ming and the others learned from the nearby spectators that during this period, there were no less than 10 heavenly emperors who came here. They used all kinds of methods to try to ascend Mount Eternal and obtain the indestructible ancient scripture, but all of them failed. There were also great emperors, true emperors, and void emperors who tried to ascend the mountain, but all of them ended in failure. Some people speculated that the indestructible ancient scripture had not yet appeared. It was obviously impossible to seize it with strength. One had to know that the indestructible emperor was an invincible figure back then. Many people stayed in Alcade Ancient City, waiting for the right opportunity. Lu Ming and the others looked around Mount Eternal for a while, but it was to no avail. Even Dandan shook his head. They could only come to Alcade Ancient City and find a place to stay. Alcade Ancient City, I heard that it is one of the oldest cities in the heavenly realm. In history, many experts were born and left behind many ruins. How about we go take a look? Jiyu Ying invited Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulins. The Jiyu family had lived in seclusion for generations and rarely came out. Jiyu Ying did not have many opportunities to come out. This time, if it was not for the indestructible ancient scripture, The Jiyu family would not have brought them out. It was rare for him to come out, so naturally, he was very curious. All right. Lu Ming and the others nodded. Together with Jiyu Ying, they left the place where they lived and strolled around Alcade Ancient City. Alcade Ancient City was not only old, but it also covered a very large area. There were countless streets and ancient ruins everywhere. For example, there were many stone tablets, which were enlightenment tablets. These enlightenment tablets had great Tao engravings left behind by experts. It was very helpful for those below the martial emperor realm. Many people below the martial emperor realm sat cross-legged under the enlightenment tablets, quietly comprehending and cultivating. There were many statues in another place. They were all famous statues of the past generations. Each of them exuded a domineering will that made people admire them. Many people were looking at them. Lu Ming and the others also came here. Look, those are the statues of the top 10 battle beast. Jiyu Ying whispered. Lu Ming looked over and saw statues of different species. There was a 9 dragon with a winding body. There were 9 dragon claws under its abdomen. The scales on its body were clear and lifelike, as if the 9 dragons had come back to life. There was a giant elephant that was like a small mountain. Its muscles were obvious as if it had explosive power. This was the immemorial dragonesque elephant. Next, they saw the statues of the Titan longhorn beetle, the immortal heavenly phoenix, the 9 lives demonic silkworm. These were the statues of the top 10 battle beasts. There were a total of 9 statues, but there was no statue of the world turtle. Dandan, you don't seem to be there. It seems that your reputation is not good enough. Or maybe they think that you are not worthy of being compared to the other 9. Lu Ming looked at Dandan and joked. Bullshit, the people who carved these statues must be ignorant or have a grudge against me. Damn it, they didn't put my statue in. Dandan was extremely unhappy and gritted her teeth. In the end, her eyes lit up and she said, I know, they definitely can't carve out my majestic charm, so they don't have a statue of me. That must be it, haha. Fut. Lu Ming and the others looked at it with disdain. After a while, the crowd left. Lu Ming, it's you? You. How did you come to the heavenly realm? At this moment, a voice was heard. It sounded very surprised. Luo Tsangqiong? An. Stellar River. Chapter 2233. Not far away, a few youths walked over. 2 of them were Lu Ming's old acquaintances, Luo Tsangqiong and Xingxinhe from the primordial realm. Beside them was another youth that Lu Ming did not recognize. Luo Tsangqiong and Xingxinhe seemed very surprised. Back then, Heavenly Emperor Kong Yin did not bring Lu Ming to the Heaven Domain. Why would Lu Ming appear in the Heaven Domain now? After the surprise, it was cold murderous intent. Luo Tsangqiong and Xingxinhe were the same. They did not hide their murderous intent as their figures flickered and surrounded Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to come to the Heaven Domain too. Can't you just stay in the primordial realm and retire? Why must you come to the Heaven Domain to die? Well, it saves me a trip. Luo Tsangqiong said coldly as a powerful aura emanated from his body. 2-star Illusionary Emperor seemed to have reached the peak of 2-star Illusionary Emperor and could step into 3-star Illusionary Emperor at any time. At the same time, 2 types of laws emanated from his body. They were both Monarch Dao laws and both were at the peak of the 1st realm. Obviously, after coming to the Heaven Domain, Luo Tsangqiong had made great progress. Back in the Battle of 10 Earths, Luo Tsangqiong had just broken through to 1-star Illusionary Emperor. Now, he had reached the peak of 2-star Illusionary Emperor and comprehended the 2nd type of law, reaching the peak of the 1st realm. To be able to make such progress in 5 years was already very fast. He had definitely received a lot of resources to cultivate. The distance of each step in the martial emperor realm was very large and difficult to cross. Without resources, it would take a long time to cultivate honestly. Lu Ming glanced at Luo Tsangqiong indifferently and said, I haven't seen you for 5 years. You've made some progress, but do you think you're my match? His voice was full of disdain. Luo Tsangqiong's face turned ugly. Indeed, he did not have much confidence in dealing with Lu Ming alone. During the Battle of 10 Earths, Lu Ming was able to fight with the Heaven Domain prodigies who had mastered the strongest laws. He was much stronger than Luo Tsungcheong now. Although he knew that Lu Ming was a peerless cripple and could not become an emperor, his combat ability should not be any different from 5 years ago and there should not be any improvement. However, he was no match for Lu Ming now. However, he was not afraid because there were others beside him. Lu Ming, this is not the primordial realm, nor is it the same as 5 years ago. Luo Tsungcheong said coldly. Oh, you mean the two of them? Lu Ming smiled indifferently as he glanced at the Star River and the strange young man. I alone am enough. Xing Xinghe spoke with great confidence. Xing Xinghe's cultivation had already reached 3-star illusionary emperor. His improvement was shocking, as he had jumped 2 tiers. At the same time, his law had also made shocking progress. His battle strength was much stronger than 5 years ago during the Battle of the 10 Lands. Xinghe was no longer weaker than the Heaven Realm geniuses who had descended upon the Yuan realm. His talent was very strong, and he was not weaker than the geniuses of the Heaven Realm. Now that he had the resources of the Heaven Realm to nurture him, his progress was extremely fast. He was confident that he could defeat Lu Ming alone. He is that peerless cripple from the primordial realm? The strange young man spoke. This person's cultivation was not weak either. He was a 3-star illusionary emperor and had mastered 3 types of law. Although he did not master the strongest law, 2 of his monarch laws had already reached the 2nd realm. His strength was also very shocking. That's right, it's him. Luo Tsungcheong said in a cold voice. Many people have praised him to the heavens and bragged about how powerful he is. Today, I want to give it a try. The strange young man sneered. Those who bragged about him are just his friends. Luo Tsungcheong sneered and said, Lu Ming, today, you must die. Back then, in the world of the Lotus, Luo Tsungcheong was abused by Lu Ming too miserably. Luo Pokong was killed by Lu Ming in public, and he was trampled on by Lu Ming in public. He was even treated as a human weapon and fought against Xing Xinghe. He was utterly humiliated. He had always wanted to take revenge. However, in the Battle of the 10 Lands, the strength that Lu Ming displayed shocked him, but what happened later made him ecstatic. Lu Ming actually had a peerless crippled body and could not go to the heavenly domain to cultivate. He was overjoyed and decided to return to the primordial realm after cultivating in the heavenly domain and kill Lu Ming personally. He did not expect to meet Lu Ming in the heavenly domain, but his intention to kill Lu Ming would not change. Lu Ming, give me the heavenly emperor's body, and I can give you a quick death. Xing Xinghe said coldly. Of course, he was transmitting his voice to Lu Ming. He did not want others to know about the heavenly emperor's body. In his opinion, the heavenly emperor's body should belong to him, and anyone else who touched it had to die. He also had to kill Lu Ming. Xing Xinghe and the other 2 completely ignored Dandan, Jiu Ying, and Mulins. How strong could they be when they were with a crippled body like Lu Ming? They did not care about them. Lu Ming, who are these 3 idiots? They fart as soon as they come, Dandan said unhappily. These words made Luo Tsungcheong and Xing Xinghe's faces turn black. Originally, it had nothing to do with you, but now, you have to be responsible for your own word. Luo Tsungcheong said coldly. Nest, this kid has no ability at all, but is very arrogant. I'll slap him to death. Dandan was even more unhappy. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to attack. Leave them to me, I'll deal with them. Lu Ming waved his hand and stopped Dandan. You'll deal with them? Let's see how you'll deal with them. The unfamiliar young man said coldly. He took a step forward and charged towards Lu Ming. His palm was like a blade, slashing down with force like a heavenly blade. He fully unleashed his 3-star illusionary emperor realm power and 3 types of monarch laws. 2 of them had already reached the 2nd realm and were extremely powerful. This attack shattered the void. A terrifying blade light slashed towards Lu Ming, wanting to split Lu Ming in half. Countless people around were alarmed and looked over. In the face of this attack, Lu Ming's expression did not change at all. He was very calm. Boom. Just as the blade light was about to hit Lu Ming, Lu Ming made a move and pointed out with his finger. A finger force hit the blade light, and the blade light shattered immediately. The finger force did not stop and pointed at the unfamiliar young man at an astonishing speed. The unfamiliar young man's pupils shrank sharply, revealing a look of horror in his eyes as he frantically retreated. However, Lu Ming's finger force was faster. In an instant, it caught up with the unfamiliar young man. The unfamiliar young man yelled in horror. At this moment, his heart was full of fear and regret. He never dreamed that Lu Ming, who had a crippled body, would be so powerful. He was even more powerful than the legends said. His attack did not have any effect at all. He felt that death was approaching. He yelled and tried to escape, but it was all too late. Poof! The finger force pierced through his glabella and destroyed his soul. The unfamiliar young man's eyes were wide open and filled with unwillingness. Then, his body fell heavily to the ground. Chapter 2234. They were well aware of the young man's battle strength. He was a very good genius in the heaven realm and his battle strength was far above Luo Zongqiong's. Even compared to Heng Xinghe, he was not much weaker. But now, he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. Wasn't Lu Ming's battle strength stronger than Heng Xinghe's? Wasn't Lu Ming a crippled body? How could his battle strength improve so quickly if he couldn't become an emperor? They couldn't figure it out. What they wanted to do now was to run. Heng Xinghe and Luo Zongqiong retreated almost at the same time. You want to run when you know you can't beat me? Have you asked for my permission? Haha. Lu Ming sneered. He took a step forward and caught up with Luo Zongqiong in an instant like a ray of dim light. Luo Zongqiong's eyes were full of horror. The young man's battle strength was above his, but he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. If Lu Ming wanted to kill him, it wouldn't take him a second move. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. If you kill me, my grandfather won't let you go. Luo Zongqiong roared. Your grandfather? He has already attacked me in the Yuan realm. Unfortunately, he is now seriously injured and I don't know where he went to heal. I will take his head myself in the future. Lu Ming sneered. He must kill Luo Zongqiong. Autumn Moon was in a desperate situation because of Luo Zongqiong and almost couldn't wake up. Later, Luo Zongqiong's grandfather, the great emperor of Qianluo, joined the great emperor of the Mu clan to kill him in the ancient Moon Holy Land. It could be said that he, the Deluo Heaven sect, and the Luo clan were already mortal enemies. If Luo Zongqiong didn't come to him, he would go to him. Since he met him today, he would not let him go. Impossible. Hearing Lu Ming's words, Luo Zongqiong roared in disbelief. Go in peace. Lu Ming said indifferently and pointed his finger. Puff. Without any suspense, Luo Zongqiong's glabella was pierced by the finger strength. His soul was destroyed and he died on the spot. So far, the two king bodies of the Deluo Heaven sect had been killed by Lu Ming. After killing Luo Zongqiong, Lu Ming chased after Luo Zongqiong. At this moment, Stellar River was flying at full speed. He had a feeling that if he didn't leave today, he wouldn't be able to. Lu Ming's battle prowess had exceeded his imagination. However, he still had hope. Lu Ming was just a cripple. He would never be able to become a martial monarch. Even if he could increase his battle prowess, it would be limited. He, on the other hand, didn't believe that he couldn't kill Lu Ming after becoming a true emperor. As long as he was alive, he could kill Lu Ming. Therefore, he used all his strength to run for his life. But when he turned around to look, he was scared out of his wits. Because Lu Ming was not far from him. Heng Xinghe, go down and accompany Luo Zongqiong, lest he be lonely, Lu Ming said coldly. He displayed the 6 feathered wings and was extremely fast. With a flap of the wings, he was close to Stellar River. Kill. The River of Stars came to a stop, and with a shout, the godly bell of eternity appeared and began to vibrate. Now, Stellar River's cultivation was much stronger than before. He had reached the 3-star Void Emperor. Moreover, his eternal law had reached the 2nd realm and he had mastered a sovereign law. Therefore, the power of the eternal divine bell was many times stronger than before. Layers of sound waves rushed out and turned into sharp swords, slashing toward Lu Ming. It was extremely terrifying. This move again. Heng Xinghe, this move is useless against me, Lu Ming said faintly and blasted out a palm. Boom. The void exploded as the terrifying palm force rushed towards the stellar river like an avalanche. The sharp swords formed by the sound waves of the eternal divine bell exploded and collapsed. The palm force continued to surge toward stellar river and bombarded the eternal divine bell. Dong. The eternal divine bell vibrated violently and cracks appeared. Heng Xinghe's body was thrown out like a cannonball and he coughed up blood in the air. How is this possible? Stellar River roared, his voice full of disbelief. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? In the 5 years since he came to the Heaven Realm, Stellar River had received a lot of resources. There was even a big shot who valued him and took him in as a disciple. That was a heavenly emperor. Being a disciple of a heavenly emperor and receiving the heavenly emperor's training, he had made great progress in all aspects. His combat strength had increased tremendously. Even so, after 5 years, when he met Lu Ming again, he was even more vulnerable. He couldn't accept it. These people are so weak. Why are they here to kill Lu Ming? Dandan pursed his lips and was speechless. They are here to die. Jiyu Ying was also speechless. The surrounding onlookers were also discussing. Who is that person? What a strong combat strength. I heard them say that he has a peerless cripple physique. What's going on? I don't know. I know. I heard that there is a peerless cripple physique in the primordial realm. Before becoming an emperor, he has mastered many laws and even 2 supreme laws. What? 2 supreme laws of nature? The scene was in an uproar. Many people exclaimed, but even more people didn't believe it. They didn't believe that someone could master 2 supreme laws. That was impossible. In history, no one had ever done it. High in the sky, Lu Ming's figure didn't stop and continued to attack Stellar River. Using the 6-feathered divine wings, Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. With a flap of his wings, Lu Ming instantly caught up with Stellar River. Dong. Lu Ming struck out with his palm again, bombarding Stellar River's eternal divine bell. This time, the eternal divine bell covering Stellar River's body directly exploded. The sound of bones breaking could be heard all over Stellar River's body. His body flew out and vomited blood. Lu Ming didn't use his full strength. In his palm, there were only 4 types of laws: Primal Chaos Law, Devour Law, Penetration Law, and Force Law. In the past few years, Lu Ming had improved too much. After refining a trace of energy from the ancestral dragon's blood, his physical strength skyrocketed. At the same time, the Alchemy Law, Tools Law, and Penetration Law were all perfected one after another. After tempering his physical body and saint power again and again, Lu Ming's physical body and saint power had improved a lot. Stellar River's strength was no weaker than Blue Cloud and Yang Shi that Lu Ming encountered 3 years ago. At that time, Lu Ming needed to go all out to fight with experts like Blue Cloud or Yang Shi. But now, Lu Ming was also using 4 types of laws. He hadn't even used his ultimate move yet, but he was able to crush Stellar River completely. Be on your way. Lu Ming chased after Stellar River. Stellar River went berserk and tried his best to escape. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. My master is the Heavenly Emperor. At the same time, Stellar River roared and mentioned his master, hoping that Lu Ming would have some scruples. But he also knew that he knew Lu Ming very well. Lu Ming was a lawless person, and there was no way to scare him. Sure enough, Lu Ming was unmoved and continued to chase after him. Despair appeared on Stellar River's face. Lu Ming, stop. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.